Hey folks, here we are for Game 5 with the Simic Storm deck. I hope you've enjoyed the game so far. This is the last one I'll be doing in this series. Here we have a new lot of commanders: Edric, Omnath, the red and green one, and Campbell, or Cambal. I'm not quite sure exactly how you say that, but he's pretty good versus me, considering what my deck likes to do. I did not win the die roll. Omnath, Locus of Rage here, won. And here I have a hand that's pretty suspect. Ultimately, I decided to keep it possibly against my own better judgment. I thought about this hand for a second before I decided to keep it. And what it has going for it is turn 1 Thrasios, into turn 2 Ristic Study, into turn 3 Kydele, which is not too bad of a curve. The reason why this hand is bad is, first of all, it has too many lands in it. Secondly, Heartbeat of Spring and Ristic Study is not exactly a combo. So I'm not sure if I even want to play the Heartbeat with this hand for some time until I want to win, basically. So, but I ultimately decide I'm going to keep this hand because I can ramp. It's like I steal the play away from the opponent, so I get to have an extra land in play. Here I pitch an island with my Gemstone Caverns. He plays a Blighted Woodland turn 1 and passes. Campbell over here plays a Swamp and passes. I found Eternal Witness, which is just okay. Not like the best card ever. Here what I really want is some fast artifact ramp. To go ahead and get on the board quickly. Edric plays a Llanowar Elf and passes the turn. Here, Omnath plays this thing. When a land enters play under his control, he can pay 3 to create an elemental, but it exiles at the end of turn, so I guess he needs to sacrifice Outlet if he wants to do 5 damage via Omnath, or excuse me, 3 damage via Omnath. But it's still an interesting tech in his deck. I think it's kind of sweet. Maybe with like a Goblin Bombardment or something like that, he can get some decent damage going with that card. Cambal plays Orzhov Signet. I decided to go ahead and fetch. I probably should have fetched the turn before just to reduce the likelihood of me drawing lands, and I drew yet another land this turn, which is not very good. But I play Ristic Study, hoping that maybe I can get into some action. Also, Ristic Study seems great versus Edric. What this deck wants to do is play a bunch of 1/1s for 1 that usually have evasion, like flying or unblockable or something, so that he can get the damage through and draw a ton of cards. But paying 2 for those creatures instead of paying 1, it's a pretty big deal. So if he wants to play around Ristic Study, he's going to have to play it nice and slow, which is what we want to do. I don't want him going off anytime soon. This deck's pretty low to the ground and can go off pretty quickly with Time Warp effects, taking extra turns and drawing more cards, and taking more turns and drawing more cards. That's what Edric does, generally speaking. So he plays a Treetop Scout. Cannot be blocked except for by creatures with flying, so an evasive threat, and then he decides to pay for Ristic Study. Then he plays Cloudfin Raptor. I'm pretty sure he sequenced this slightly wrong. I would have played the Raptor first and then played this guy to go ahead and get the evolve going. But he decides to do it this way, and he cannot pay for Ristic Study, so I get to draw my first card off of it. So Ristic Study already put in some work. Here he makes a land drop and chooses not to make the elemental. I'm guessing he has another play, and sure enough he does. He has Kodama's Reach, and he cannot pay 1, so I get to draw another card. Ristic Study is looking like a Divination right now, and it's better than Divination because it's not done yet. And my pickup was a Paradox Engine, which generally speaking is a great card. This is like one of my, almost like a win condition in this deck. But right now it's not looking super impressive because I have nothing to untap with it other than Kydele in the future. And I don't have any fast artifact mana. This is a strange setup compared to what I normally see from this deck. As I discussed in the deck tag, I have a ton of mana sources, artifact ramp, maybe about a third of the deck. So it should be about every third card is a mana artifact. Here he plays Campbell and decides to pay, I believe, for Ristic Study. Yep. Which everyone always should. If you don't know this, you should always pay for Ristic Study if you can, even if it means that you have to slow down what your game plan is just a little bit. So here I'm definitely not playing Heartbeat, and I play Kydele. With the plan of hopefully drawing a ton of cards off of Ristic Study and then just winning on the next turn. That's something that could happen. Here he plays Edric, chooses not to pay, which I think he should have for more than one reason. One is that it stops me from drawing a card. 2 is that he chooses to attack this player, the Omnath player. I guess he perceives him to be the scariest because with the 3 damage from elementals dying, he can shoot down his board pretty easily, and he just has like blockers. Like, I don't know if the blockers matter too much because he has a lot of evasion, but he decides to attack him with the Llanowar Elf. And if I was in this player's position, I would snap off a block immediately. It pinches him on a mana, and it pinches him on cards. So that's just like a no-brainer in my mind. This guy's cool and everything, but he's not as valuable as what's going on over here. So sure enough, he does decide to block, and I approve of that decision. I would have definitely done the same thing. So he gets to draw 2 cards here. This also means that next turn he cannot start time warping off unless he has like a mana crypt or something. Worth noting. Omnath player taps out for a Seed Guide Ash. When he dies, you can search for up to 3 forests and put them into play tapped. Pretty cool card. I thought about running this in my mono green Omnath, but I ultimately decided against it. And I draw a Tezzeret, which is great. Goes good with the Paradox engine. I can set something up that way. And if I'm lucky, I can maybe even like Tezzeret, get an artifact out, Chain of Vapor my Tezzeret, and get another artifact. And if I float my mana right, I can probably do all of this with Paradox engine in place. So things are looking pretty good. So during his turn, I'm thinking about what am I going to do with this Tezzeret? How am I going to set this up the best? It'll also pull aggro from him maybe for 1 turn, so he'll draw less cards because he wants to kill Tezzeret. And here, he did not extort, nor did he pay for Rhystic Study, which is really strange. And I ended up getting Sensei's Dividing Top. That might have been just a mistake. And here I draw Green Sun Zenith, which made me dial back on the Tezzeret plan. The plan on this turn was to cast Tezzeret, get an artifact, and set up for next turn. But this is a much better setup for next turn. So I decide here that I am going to get Seedborn Muse. I also have the option of like Chain of Vaporing something if I need to. I don't really want to do that because they will have the option of sacrificing a land to bounce my Seedborn Muse. So I have this Chain of Vapor, but as interaction, but I'm going to use it with Restraint so that they cannot bounce my Seedborn Muse, like I said. And here with the Heartbeat of Spring, I just decided to get rid of it. It wasn't looking very great, and I don't think I'm going to need it to win, so just go ahead and get rid of that. Here he attacks the Omnath player yet again, which I think was kind of a mistake. He probably should have been attacking me, considering what I was doing the whole time with my curve and especially what I'm representing right now. Like, he needs to kill me, but I guess he still fears Omnath the most and decides to attack Omnath. Draws a couple more cards. Here he plays an Elvish Mystic, lets me draw a card, which I think is great because that means that, to me, I think that means that he has something to do with all this other mana, and I'm going to draw more cards. Which, sure enough, is exactly what happens. So he plays Elvish Mystic, plays this guy who cannot be blocked. I get to draw another card. And here's where you really get to see Rhystic Study shine in a matchup like this, where he has a ton of 1-drops and he doesn't want to pay 2 for them. He plays another unblockable threat, lets me draw another card. Here we have Green Sun Zenith again, which is pretty dead now. The only target I think it can get is birds and also Dryad Arbor. He plays yet another unblockable threat. So he's setting up shop over there. He's getting ready for a big next turn as well. But I'm not sure if his turn's going to be able to beat my turn. Or if he'll even get another turn. So here I decide to activate Thrasios. I see a Time Twister on top. I already have Time Spiral, so I don't really see a need for Time Twister, even though that's one of my favorite cards ever. I ship it to the bottom, and I find a Psychosis Crawler. Right now, all I really want to find is lands, and it's kind of unfortunate that I've drawn so many lands, including this other one in Exile. Like, I don't have a ton left in my deck. I mean, it's possible for me to still hit lands, but it's not super likely at this point. And I find an island, and I keep it. Here, the Omnath player is tapping and figuring out what he wants to do, and he plays Ranger's Path. Taking 2 damage from Campbell. Cambal? I'm not sure on that one. I'm just going to say Campbell. Alright. And he chooses not to pay for Rhystic Study, which is strange considering he doesn't make any other plays this turn. And I wouldn't have done that. People were very liberal about just letting me draw cards with Rhystic Study here, which is just a mistake. Let me look at my grip. It's insane. I'm thinking about how I can win the game with these cards in hand. I still have not found any fast artifact mana, which is just crazy to think about, considering how many cards I've seen at this point. I found one right there in Worn Power Stone, but it's not the most valuable. I'd rather find a land. So I guess that's part of it. The only way I'm going to end up with fast artifact mana in my hand is if I don't see a land on top and I ship it, and then I see an artifact after that. So I guess that reduces the likelihood of me seeing one. And here I find a Mox Opal, I ship it, and I find a land. So everything's looking pretty good. Here he plays Angelic Purge. He chooses to pay for Rhystic Study. And chooses to extort. And he's Angelic Purging my Seedborn Muse, which completely makes sense. It's the most threatening thing on the board right now, easily. Even more threatening than Edric. But, however, I mean, looking at my hand, the damage is done. I no longer need Seedborn Muse. Paradox Engine is going to be my Seedborn Muse for the next turn. And I don't really care about that. But still, I decide, just in case I draw something that changes my mind, that I will go ahead and pull from tomorrow for the maximum amount right now to see the most cards. I mean, I could pact, maybe. I don't think I would want to pact, though, even if I drew it. So Campbell nugs me for 2. He gains 2. Here I draw a ton of cards, and I discard Island. So yeah, my grip's getting pretty large here. And I just allow this to happen. Even if I could stop it, I wouldn't care. And I tap Kydele because I just drew 5 cards to generate enough mana for one more Thrasios activation. Here I see a Lotus Petal. I put it on the bottom, and I find a Training Grounds. So here I had to think about how I wanted to sequence all of this in order to get everything that I want done. And I pause here on my upkeep, and I even tap a mana because I was thinking about Mystical Tutoring for something, maybe like a High Tide or like a Fabricate or a Frantic Search or something like that to smooth out what I plan to be doing here. But after looking at all the cards in my hand and looking at my potential plays, and especially this Carpet of Flowers generating an extra 3, I just decide that I can wait on the Mystical Tutor. Here I play Carpet of Flowers, and then I immediately pass to my second main phase to generate 2 mana from that. 2 extra mana, 3 mana total, but it costs me 1. I make some blue. Here I tap Kydele, tap a land, and play Tezzeret. Getting hurt by Campbell yet again. So if I don't watch what I do here and how I sequence everything and how many spells I play and whatnot, I may die to Campbell here. So I need to do something about that. Maybe bounce it or just, get something in play that makes it so I don't have to worry about it as much. So here I get a Mana Vault because it is the cheapest way to produce 3 colorless mana. And in conjunction with Paradox Engine, it was just my best bet. He can't get a Gilded Lotus right away, or else I would get that for colored mana. So here I play Paradox Engine. And then I tap a land and play Training Grounds. I thought about, again, here playing Mystical Tutor, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted yet still. And the main goal here is just to make a bunch of colorless mana with the plan of generating tons of colorless mana, then play Inventor's Fair as my land for turn and cracking it to get Aetherflux Reservoir. And that way I am no longer being stifled by Campbell, and I'm still netting life with each spell that I play. So I do that here. I cast Helm of Awakening, generating a little bit of mana. Then I tap my stuff, play Sensei's Divining Top for free, generate even more mana. Now I play Inventor's Fair and crack it for Aetherflux Reservoir. And at this point, the game's pretty locked up. There are things that people could do to get out of this, like this player could have Force of Will, or Pact of Negation. But I'm not too concerned about that right now, and I'm definitely not going to wheel because I don't want to give him the opportunity. So I don't want to Time Spiral right now, just in case he doesn't have Force of Will. I don't want him to draw into it. And here I do a cute little play, which is tap the top, float some mana, and then cast an instant in response, which is Mystical Tutor here. This time I get Fabricate. The reason I do that with the top is I can tap it, and I resolve my Mystical Tutor here for Fabricate, and then with that draw trigger on the stack, I can draw another card, which means that I get to draw the Fabricate, and then I draw the top again, which is a free spell that nets me mana. That's the main reason I did that. Here, I tap my last blue source for Fabricate. Sorry about that noise, it was my phone going off. So I play Fabricate for the last time to get, or the last time I search for an artifact to get Gilded Lotus. And now I have a way of converting all of this colorless mana into colored mana that I can use for all my different various spells. And I could win right now with Aetherflux Reservoir. It would just take a little while. I would have to do a bunch of stuff. But I tap the Gilded Lotus. I play Teferi. This should just shut the door on any interaction that they may have, just so I can proceed to go off safely. Then I play Sensei's Divining Top, which just nets me mana, as I stated previously. I cast a Green Sun Zenith for 0, but X equals 1 because Helm Awakening is in play. And I have the birds in my hand, so I think the only target here is Dryad Arbor. It's the only green creature left in my deck, period. But I'm just doing that just to generate more mana. Here I play Psychosis Crawler. Going up in life and Storm. And then I play a Mind Spring for 39 exactly. That kills these two players, and he has 73 life, and I can shoot him with the Aetherflux Reservoir afterwards. So I cast Mind Spring, gain even more life. I'm at 100 life now. Kills these two players. If it ever goes in the stack. Boom. Bunch of triggers here. From Psychosis Crawler, my best friend. Wow, what is happening here? Alright, so they resolve. It kills Nutties. Kills this guy. And now it's just me and Campbell left, and I shoot Campbell for 50 damage in the face with Aetherflux Reservoir, and I have a full grip of cards here at the end. I could have gone off enough to kill everybody with Aetherflux Reservoir, but that was the most efficient way to kill everyone, I think. So I hope you enjoyed the Thrasios and Tymna Storm deck. If you liked it or didn't like it, I'd like to hear about it in the comments. Also, if you have a different iteration of this build that you would like to try, or you think is a better version than this one, I'd like to hear about that too. So this is Raging Poo signing out. I hope you enjoyed.